Parents listening who might have a daughter going through ACL rehab, or the coaches as well who have a girl returning to play and they want to kind of like rush her back, what words of wisdom would you give them?
Don't. I think sometimes my words might carry a little more weight because I've torn both my ACLs, and I tell them my experience because it's like I've literally been in your shoes twice now, and I can assure you that you don't want to go through this more than once. And I also tell them that I was the one cleared by my surgeon and my PT to go back to playing a basketball tournament 7 months post-op. I had surgery in February and I played in a basketball tournament in August. And I went in for a layup. No, nobody touched me, came down and landed. And then I didn't re-tear it, but I ended up like aggravating my knee. So I had to sit out for the rest of the tournament, went back in the rehab for another 3 months. And then about a year or so later, I ended up tearing the other one, because very, very likely, and if I had to bet money, I would bet money on it that I was dealing with muscle indifferences. Maybe I was 85% of my quad strength, which is enough to get by to do a lot of things. But it's like every time you go out there and play and you're below 90, you are basically gambling. And it's hard enough, again, coming back from to get above 90 and and clearing that benchmark. But again, every time you go out there and play and you're below 90, you are essentially gambling. The bigger the gap, the bigger the gamble. And that's what I tell people is that like, is it really worth it for you to put yourself at risk when in reality, if maybe you can commit another month or two and just lock in and finish off this last whatever 5-6%, isn't that going to feel so much better because you'll know that you passed everything, that you're safe to play. And I always tell them that I can't guarantee that you'll never get hurt again. Like I've had re-tears before, and some of my patients who have passed everything. I've had like 4 or 5 in my career here, but all of them have been contact injuries, and like I want to say you can sort of like at least be at peace that like it wasn't something that was some fluke or freak accident that like that was a very basic cut that they should be able to handle. It wasn't due to lack of preparation. It's just like again, there's a risk factor of playing any sport that every athlete is signing up for when you play. So I can't guarantee that you're never get hurt, but I can guarantee that you're going to pass on my tests. And if you pass everything, again, what research shows is that you are significantly at less risk than going back to play. So I tell them all this, and I share research articles with parents who want to read that. And I show it to the kids. Like if they want to see it, I'm more than happy to show them because I don't want them feeling like, oh, Wesley is just being like a buzzkill because for whatever reason he wants to hold me back for whatever reason. Like no, no, no. This is backed by significant research out there that shows that like testing is one of the big things that should dictate when somebody is cleared. And my imperfect analogy for people who want to rush back is that like when you turn 16, they don't just give you a license, right? You have to pass a test to get a license. You could be 18 and get a license. You could be 25 and get a license. Like again, it comes down to passing the test. So again, same thing for ACL rehab. Some people might pass all my tests at 9.5 months. That's great. Some people might not pass until 12.5 months. That's great too. If it takes them that long, but they pass on my tests, for me, that's still considered a win for me. Again, the best compliment that I can pay to anyone is that I don't want to see you in my office as a patient. I want to see you training with our coaches, saying hi to me, saying bye to me. Like that's what I want to see. I don't want to see you as my patient. And the best thing that I can do for you is making sure that you have passed on my tests. So for any parent that is going through this and your kid's going through this, like make sure the testing is actually good. If they're only doing isometric testing, I don't think that's enough. Try and find someone that does Biodex testing. Biodex is still considered the gold standard. If you can find someone, and even if you have to drive an hour or so, you don't have to do it that often. I think it's still worth it because it just gives you more information of determining, hey, your kid is at 82%, but isometrically you're at 90%. For me, you are not clear to play, despite the isometric being at 90, because most of the time, like our isometric testing will test 10 to 15% above the concentric testing, which shows you a lot. Is that like you need to have the concentric testing because that's ultimately how muscles move. We need to make the muscles move and test them in that manner and stress them in that manner. And it can't just be isometrically. I don't think isometric testing is enough.
So that's one thing parents should be looking for when shopping for a PT. And I think one mistake parents make is just because someone has doctor of physical therapy behind their name, oh, my daughter is completely taken care of. But just like strength coaches, not everyone is doing the right thing. So besides testing, what else should parents be looking for when looking to hire a PT for this rehab process?
Great question. I think I'm totally for interviewing the therapist. I think that, and it's hard because obviously the parent probably doesn't know what to ask and what to look for. But even asking for experience level, I don't even necessarily care about like the years. Like they can tell you that, oh, I have 15 years of experience. Just because you're a physical therapist for 15 years and you see one ACL every 3 years, you can theoretically say that I have 15 years of experience. So it's like, how many ACLs are currently on your caseload? If they're like, oh, I have one, that's probably not enough. Like for me, 70% of my patients are ACLs. Like there are some days I'll have 7 or 8 patients, all 7 or 8 will be ACLs. So it's something that I see all the time. Like every once in a while on my Instagram, I'll post like my roster for the day. And like some people are like, how do you get so many ACLs? Or how do you see so many ACLs? Like it just comes with like sort of building a reputation for yourself. I would say for also parents asking if you know a girl on a team or maybe a different team or within a club, like if they had successful ACL rehab and they're back and they're multiple years back, or they have an older sister or whatever it is, who's years and years out, those are the ones you want to go look for, right? Because that probably tells you that they are obviously fully overcome from their surgery. Because even then, like most re-tear, if you do have a re-tear, most of them will happen within 2 years, which is still a long time out. So some people will be like, oh, I'm a year and a half, I'm a year and a half out, which is pretty far out, but yet I re-tear. Oh, that's just bad luck. No, that's not bad luck. That probably tells me that you were just like gambling over and over and over again, and eventually something went wrong. So I think asking about experience, how many ACL patients do you see? Like, can you talk to me about your return to sport process? Like, what does your testing look like? Can you show me the testing equipment? Like, go look at their weight room and all that kind of stuff. Like, if you walk in a facility, they mark themselves as sports rehab, and they're only holding a 10-pound dumbbell. They have no barbells. They have no space. Like, they're not a sports rehab facility. I don't care what they show you on their website. That does not mean that they're a sports rehab facility. Like, they should have a lot of weights. They should have ample testing equipment. They should have um, open space, ideally. Not, and I totally get that not every place is going to have open space. That's the one I can sort of like be okay with. But when it comes to like strength training, that's the ultimate priority throughout the entire course of rehab. So if you only have a 10-pound weight, who are you actually loading? Like you once they get beyond like 2 months, you can't even load them anymore. So you're not providing a high level service. So I think asking those questions and checking out the facility and asking about how many ACLs they see regularly, I think those are going to be the big ones. And they should be able to confidently answer this. And if they're like floating around, they're giving very generic answers, I'm going to guess they're probably not the right fit. And I think that not enough people go and interview the therapist. They just take a lot of places, at least maybe just in our area, but the surgeons will do the surgeons will do the surgery, and they'll be like, oh, go see our therapist who are downstairs, and they'll sell it as if it's some convenience thing, which is where I used to work. They'll sell it as if it's, oh yeah, we have therapists downstairs. They'll take great care of you. I'm in direct communication with them, and that's like that literally could not be more false. Because you call the front desk, for example, you might call the front desk, hey, my daughter so and so had surgery, and they're getting surgery with Doctor so and so, and they need rehab starting in 2 weeks, and we need after school times. With the front desk, majority of the time, at least again, where I used to work, they would just look to see through, oh, this date, this first available date, Tuesday, 4 p.m., not even really care if that therapist actually cares about treating ACLs, put them on their caseload, and they're stuck with that therapist for the foreseeable future, unless you request to move elsewhere. But again, if you don't know any better, you're just going to take it, like you said, oh, this is a doctor of physical therapy. This is a physical therapy assistant, whatever it be. They know what they're doing, and you're stuck with them for the next X amount of months. And then before you know it, they're doing very generic rehab and like still having to do basic straight leg raises at 12 weeks post-op when you should be actually lifting weights. I think it's totally okay, and it should be the expected that parents and any patient are interviewing the therapist. And if they're not concrete with their answers, that should give you enough information.